Just over 2 hours later, Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight are on their way to a nightclub that Suge owns.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're examining 10 haunting photos taken just before celebrity deaths.
Peter, she's dying. She's sick. Why would she want her picture taken?
For this list, we're looking at the creepiest and most unsettling photographs that were taken of dying celebrities, or of celebrities that were about to die through unnatural means. Do any of these pictures make you feel uneasy? Let us know in the comments below. Aaliyah. Known as the Princess of R&B, Aaliyah saw success throughout the 90s and early 2000s with songs like Back and Forth and Try Again. In late August of 2001, Aaliyah flew to the Bahamas to shoot the music video for Rock the Boat. It was around this time that the haunting photo was taken. It depicts a small group sitting on a boat in the clear blue water, with Aaliyah happily flashing a peace sign at the camera.
I ran, grabbed my camera. I was like, let me take a picture.
Shortly after the photo was taken, Aaliyah boarded a small plane to fly back to Florida. This plane was overloaded with too much weight and quickly crashed, killing everyone on board. Aaliyah was 22 years old.
She was a beautiful person on the inside and out.
Chris Benoit.
What Chris did almost destroyed the only thing that he ever loved.
Chris Benoit was known as one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, accomplishing massive feats and putting on some of the most memorable performances in the ring. However, in 2008, his image was forever tarnished when Benoit murdered his wife Nancy and their son before taking his own life.
How is that even logical for this man who loved her so much?
Prior to these events, Benoit's whereabouts had been shrouded in mystery, as he had no-showed the WWE pay-per-view event Vengeance Night of Champions during the weekend. The very last sighting of Benoit was in a doctor's office, where a fan had taken this chilling photograph of him. Steve Jobs. This man literally helped change the world and brought it into the digital age. Steve Jobs revolutionized computing with his company Apple and made some of the most groundbreaking pieces of technology in modern history, including the Macintosh computer and the iPhone.
And we are calling it iPhone.
Unfortunately, Jobs was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in October 2003 at the age of 48. He battled the disease for nearly 10 years before passing away in 2011.
A giant in business, technology, and entertainment, Steve Jobs had been battling pancreatic cancer for 8 years.
One of the last photos of Jobs is haunting in nature and depicts the devastating effects that cancer can have on the body. Clad all in black, Jobs is being supported by another man and is both pale and painfully thin. James Dean. An icon of the screen, actor James Dean saw enormous success in the mid-50s with acclaimed movies like East of Eden and Rebel Without a Cause. Dean was an avid car enthusiast and owned a Porsche 550 Spider.
Despite protests from worried producers and directors, he bought a Porsche, racing it up into the Hollywood Hills.
Dean hoped to use the car in an event called the Salinas Road Race, and in September of 1955, he was driving to the race with various people, including a photographer from Collier's magazine.
He accelerates the time he has left by participating in numerous races through the Californian desert, intoxicated with childhood dreams.
Along the way, a photo was snapped of Dean and his Porsche at a gas station. Just a few hours later, Dean was in a fatal car crash on what is now California State Route 46 and died at 24. Tupac Shakur. With over 75 million records sold, Tupac is a music legend who crafted some of the most iconic hip-hop songs in the genre's history.
I mean, nobody should be hitting lotto for 36 million and we got people starving in the streets.
On September 7th, 1996, Tupac attended a Mike Tyson boxing match in Las Vegas. Following the event, a photo was taken of Tupac sitting in the passenger seat of a black vehicle. Behind the wheel is record executive Suge Knight, whose label Death Row Records released Tupac's most popular album, All Eyes on Me.
Suge was driving the car and Tupac was his passenger.
Just a few minutes after the photo was taken, Tupac was shot 4 times in a drive-by. He was rushed to the hospital and remained on life support for multiple days before dying on September 13th.
No one has ever been arrested for Tupac's murder.
Candy Darling. Back in the 60s and 70s, iconic artist Andy Warhol promoted what he called his superstars. These were personal collaborators who were often seen in public with Warhol and who would star in his subversive works. Candy Darling was one of these superstars, having appeared in some of his movies.
Hi, I'm Candy Darling. I'm an actress here in New York.
Unfortunately, Darling was struck with lymphoma and was sent to New York's Cabrini Medical Center. While there, she was photographed by Peter Hujar, and the eerie work is titled Candy Darling on her deathbed. The photo is in black and white and depicts a heavily made-up Darling lying in her hospital bed, surrounded by flowers. She died of cancer on March 21st, 1974, at age 29.
And she loved that picture, you know, and she really made a big effort to look like that.
Paul Walker. While he enjoyed success in the 90s, actor Paul Walker became a household name after starring in The Fast and the Furious. Walker's character Brian O'Connor was given a touching farewell in 2015's Furious 7, as Walker himself died about a year and a half before the movie's release.
You'll always be with me. And you'll always be my brother.
On November 30th, 2013, Walker attended a charity event in Los Angeles. He left the event as a passenger in a red Porsche Carrera GT, which was driven by a man named Roger Rodas. This departure was captured on camera, and it would be the last photo taken of Walker. Shortly after, the car crashed at high speed and caught fire, killing both occupants.
What was the last thing you heard Paul say?
Hey, I'll be right back in 5 minutes. That was the last words I heard.
Diana, Princess of Wales. Princess Diana was one of the most famous royals of the modern age, and her fame only increased after her controversial death. In late August of 1997, Diana was visiting Paris with her romantic partner, Dodi Fayed. Their car was ambushed by paparazzi in the early morning hours of August 31st. One famous photo depicts the driver, the front passenger, and the back of Diana's head as she looks behind the vehicle. This is the final known picture of Princess Diana, as the car tragically crashed shortly after it was taken. Photographers reportedly took pictures of Diana following the crash, but these have not been made public. The accident left her with fatal injuries, and she died in the hospital just a few hours later.
A short while ago, Buckingham Palace confirmed the death of Diana, Princess of Wales.
Martin Luther King Jr. Arguably the biggest name of the American civil rights movement, Martin Luther King Jr. has a monumental reputation as one of the 20th century's most influential figures. However, not everyone agreed with his campaign, and King became the target of an assassination. On April 4th, 1968, King was shot at Memphis's Lorraine Motel, reportedly by a man named James Earl Ray.
Shot apparently came from an apartment building directly across the street.
He died at the hospital 1 hour later. In a bone-chilling photograph, King can be seen standing on the motel balcony, holding the handrail with his left hand and a briefcase in his right. 1 day later, he would be shot on that very same balcony, just a few feet to his left.
Dr. Martin Luther King, the apostle of nonviolence in the civil rights movement, has been shot to death in Memphis, Tennessee.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. John Lennon. One of the most famous musicians of the 20th century, John Lennon became a worldwide megastar thanks to his work with the Beatles. His music drew the attention of one Mark David Chapman, who, for various reasons, decided to kill Lennon in 1980. On December 8th, Chapman met Lennon outside the latter's New York apartment and had him sign a copy of the album Double Fantasy. An amateur photographer named Paul Goresh snapped a photo of this interaction, and it shows Chapman standing behind Lennon, who is actively signing the record.
And he looked at me, he said, "Is that all? Do you want anything else?"
Just a few hours later, as Lennon was returning home from a recording session, he was shot in the back by Chapman. Lennon was rushed to the hospital, but pronounced dead on arrival.
Former Beatle John Lennon is dead. He was shot a short time ago outside his Manhattan apartment building.